What's going on, YouTube? Bacon here bringing you another video. This one going to be my OLT Harmony Division Season 5 Championship match versus Muck Muck, coach of the BC Squirtles. We made it to finals, guys. Somehow we made it to finals with what I'll admit is a very, very weird draft. Very slow draft, weird type synergy, very weird draft. But we managed to make it work to this point in the season, and we've got our finals match on tap here against Muck. We were set 7-1 during the regular season, and Muck was 6-2. He's played very well himself, and he's got a very threatening team on tap for us. So let's get right into the team builder here. So Muck's got available the Jirachi, Garchomp, Togekiss, Mega Aerodactyl, Toxapex, Decidueye, Hoopa Unbound, Darmanitan, Zebstrika, Porygon 2, and Psyduck. Psyduck's not a real Pokemon, so not going to see that. Zebstrika doesn't really do anything versus me, not going to see that. I felt like he could bring pretty much anything else for the most part. Like he could bring Porygon 2 if he's afraid of my Cofagrigus, for example. I have run Trick Room Z a couple times, but definitely Toxapex I would think would come anyways, like especially a defensive variant of Toxapex to help take on my Mega Diancie. Makes a lot of sense, and he could even compound that with a defensive variant of Jirachi if he wants to. He's got a lot of potential Choice Scarf users this match. Jirachi, Garchomp, Darmanitan, Hoopa are all very usable Choice Scarfers versus me for sure. So I'll definitely have to watch out for that. Darmanitan's very difficult for me to switch into this game, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him run a Choice Scarf on that and just start clicking Fire Move a bunch. You could also run like Life Orb or Bandit or something. It's just very difficult for me to switch into in general. Very glad he didn't end up bringing the Mega Aerodactyl. That thing was a super huge threat to my team. I don't know if maybe the Crocodile and the Scizor were enough to scare him off there. Probably the Scizor for the most part was enough to scare it off, but thankfully he does not bring the Mega Aerodactyl because that thing obviously vastly outspeeds my entire team and really has the coverage to hit it all super effectively, which is terrifying. Togekiss was a definite bring, I felt like, just to deal with my Crocodile. Scarf Crocodile in this match made a lot of sense on my end, because he does have the Mega Aerodactyl and Jirachi and things. So Togekiss was kind of felt like an obvious bring for that and for my Dragonite. So not very surprised to see that thing. And then Garchomp is just very difficult to take down for my team. I'm expecting him to either be Choice Scarf on his Garchomp or have some way to live a Moonblast from a Mega Diancie, whether that's running a crap ton of bulk with like AV or Roselli Berry or whatever. Like a more bulky variant of Garchomp could make some sense versus me, especially if he's running like Tank Chomp to get some good U-turn chip off on my Scizor, take Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet kind of deal. That could make sense versus me if he's got enough bulk to live the Moonblast. Either way, that thing's going to have some way to deal with Diancie, whether it's speed or whether it's bulk. So it's definitely something I need to watch out for. But yeah, definitely a very threatening matchup on tap. But going over what he brought, I think generally it makes a good bit of sense versus me. Like I said, I was very glad to not see the Mega Aerodactyl, but I can see why he didn't end up bringing it because of things like this, or in the Crocodile, making it a little bit more difficult for Arrow to break through my team here. So yeah, let's get into my side of the team builder here. First thing I put on the team was Grace the Mega Diancie. This is a set that I've run, I think, only one other time this season, and I didn't really get to use it. But it's Calm Mind plus Rock Polish Mega Diancie with Moonblast and Earth Power. Rock Polish is going to allow me to outspeed whatever kind of speed control he's running, Choice Scarfers, Mega Aerodactyl, all that jazz. I should be able to outrun once I'm +2 after a Rock Polish. Scarf Jirachis, Garchomps, Darmanitans, and the like. And I didn't really feel like I needed rock coverage this game. I can hit the Togekiss pretty hard with Moonblast anyways, and if I'm Calm Minding, that thing's really not going to do a whole lot back to me. He can't T-Wave me with his Togekiss once I Mega Evolve, so that's another thing that he's got to watch out for. And Calm Minding in that thing's face is definitely really good for me. Earth Power obviously hits things like the Jirachi and the Toxapex super effectively, which are kind of the most noteworthy reasons to bring Earth Power in this match over a Rock-type move. But Earth Power should still OHKO the Darmanitan from full, assuming he's not running a whole lot of bulk or anything like that. Moonblast should hit things like the Garchomp, Hoopa, pretty much everything else on his team for good damage, even though it's really just good neutral coverage in this game, filled out by my Earth Power there to hit the Jirachi and the Toxapex, excuse me. So this is definitely a potential late game win con. Calm Mind plus Rock Polish is really threatening for his team to deal with. I would like to try and set this up in regular so I can take hits a little bit better. I do have a little bit of HP investment on there, but really just enough to take a hit or two and get my Rock Polish up, maybe get up a Calm Mind and start to sweep late game, assuming of course the Toxapex is a little bit chipped down. But yeah, that's the Mega Diancie set. Next up here is Hot Pockets the Rotom Heat. Running Charty Berry Rotom Heat with Overheat, Will-O-Wisp, Discharge, and HP Ice. Running max HP, decent bit into my physical defense, and the rest into speed. I believe I was creeping the Hoopa Unbound here in case you want to run like Choice Bandit or anything like that. I won't die to a Choice Scarf hit. I can get a Will-O-Wisp off on that thing, and hopefully not have to worry about it later in the game. If he is running special, that is a little bit problematic for me, but at least I felt like he's either going to run Focus Blast if he's running special, or he's running Drain Punch if he's running physical. I felt like Drain Punch was a little bit more reliable here to hit things like my Crocodile, because obviously you can miss Focus Blast. But both special and physical make a lot of sense for me this week, so hopefully he's running physical and I can snag a burn on it with the Rotom Heat. But this is mostly here to bait things like the Garchomp and the Aerodactyl. I can take Stone Edge from Garchomp. I can even take a neutral Continental Crush from the Garchomp. Go for an HP Ice or a Will-O-Wisp and neuter that thing. If he takes HP Ice damage, if he is a bulkier variant or like a Z variant of Garchomp, he should drop to a Moonblast afterwards for sure. Enemy's Choice Scarf Garchomp, it's a difficult one for him to lock himself into Stone Edge this game because I do have the Crocodile there, I do have my Scizor and things like that. But I can also potentially get a burn off on that if need be. And obviously, getting a Discharge Pair off and damage off on the Aerodactyl is nice, or again, potentially Will-O-Wisp burning that thing if he's going for a Rock-type move versus me is really good from my Rotom Heat here. So mostly just here to bait things, burn them, and hopefully cripple them later in the game. Discharge is there over Thunderbolt just for the extra chance to pair up. I do want to click Discharge versus the Aerodactyl. Getting a Paralysis off on that thing would be really, really nice for my Mega Diancie. Next up here is Nixon the Crocodile. Once again running Choice Scarf Crocodile with Intimidate, Knockoff, Earthquake, Stone Edge, and Pursuit. Pursuit is there mostly to just get some chip damage off on things like Aerodactyl, which probably shouldn't want to stay in on me, fearing me to go for Stone Edge. I can also potentially Pursuit Trap things like the Jirachi. If he's not running a Choice Scarf variant himself, he might not want to stay in on me. So things like that, I think getting chip damage off with the Crocodile over the course of the match is really nice with Pursuit there. Stone Edge is there specifically to hit the Aerodactyl, because obviously Knockoff plus Earthquake's really not going to do anything to that. But Knockoff is there as kind of my secondary Dark Stab, or I guess primary Dark Stab in that instance, to hit the rest of his team. Things like Decidueye, knocking off the item on Hoopa would be nice, potentially knocking off a item on the Darmanitan could be good. Obviously Darmanitan and its Choice Scarf is going to outspeed me, so there's a little bit of a guessing game there. If he's going to U-turn out, maybe I go for Pursuit, something like that. But obviously he's got the Togekiss that can switch in on me every time, so clicking Knockoff is generally kind of my best play this game to remove some items from his team. And as you can see, he didn't end up bringing the Mega Aerodactyl, so clicking Knockoff is generally pretty free this game, as far as I'm concerned with my Crocodile here. Next up here is Dedicated Sackmon the Scizor. Once again running Akaberry Scizor with Technician, Bullet Punch, U-turn, Swords Dance, and Roost, running max HP, well, pretty close to max HP with max special attack. Just a little bit of speed investment on my Scizor here. I believe that was creeping like a no speed Decidueye or something like that. Maybe no speed Togekiss, not really sure. But Akaberry Scizor came in really clutch last week in the semifinals. I think it's got a decent matchup here again. Obviously, I'm not taking any kind of hits from the Darmanitan, but this will cover things like Fire Fang on his Garchomp and his Aerodactyl if he happens to be running those things, as well as cover Fire-type coverage from like Hoopa if he's running Fire Punch, which he definitely could be running Fire Punch versus me this week. That's very possible. Pretty much everything on his team that gets just random fire coverage, Fire Punch on Jirachi, things like that. I can take the extra hit there with the Akaberry intact. There's potential for a Swords Dance sweep late game, but it's not like amazing potential. I just didn't really need any other moves, I felt like, so I felt like SD was kind of the best play in general there with the Scizor. Obviously Toxapex is going to be a huge problem for the Scizor set, but even running Knockoff or something I didn't feel like was really nice versus team on the Scizor, so Dual Stab plus SD was fine with me. Roost should give me some better longevity over the course of the match if I have to take a hit from Garchomp or something like that. I can force switches on his Aerodactyl and his Togekiss, get a Roost off, and get myself back up to a reasonable amount of HP. And this is also maybe a couple times switch into the Jirachi if he's not clicking Fire Punch or something like that. I do anticipate him to have it, but if he's not clicking it, if he's just clicking U-turn and things like that, I could potentially get my Scizor in on the U-turn. I could potentially get my Scizor in on the U-turns and Zen Headbutts and things like that, and potentially even set up in the Jirachi's face. Next up here, we got an old friend with Kermit the Toxicroak here. So it's been a while since I brought Toxicroak to a game. I think it only came week 1, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But it's back for this game. Life Orb, Dry Skin, Sucker Punch, Swords Dance, Earthquake, and Gunk Shot. Max Attack, Jolly Nature. Enough speed to outspeed the Hoopa Unbound, obviously. This is Pokemon's a huge threat for his team. If the Aerodactyl's taken a little bit of prior chip damage, like a Pursuit from my Crocodile, for example, that'll put him in range of +2 Sucker Punch from my Toxicroak. +2 Sucker Punch should knock out offensive variants of Jirachi, offensive variants of Hoopa, things like that, because Hoopa's physical defense stat is absolutely trash. So if he's running like Choice Scarf Hoopa, this gives me a potential out to that with +2 Sucker Punch. Same thing with Darmanitan, I believe, will also drop to +2 Sucker Punch. Gunk Shot hits the Togekiss very hard, obviously. I do anticipate, like I mentioned, him to bring the Togekiss. Toxicroak can pressure that really nicely with Gunk Shot. And then Earthquake is there to round out my coverage against things like the Toxapex specifically. I can set up on Toxapex all day. Like, if he's running Haze, he's running Haze, obviously. But Earthquake should 2-hit KO that thing with my Life Orb. And I can switch in on that thing for free because of my Dry Skin ability. This also gives me a Toxic Spike Absorber on the team because I'm not running Defog this week. Yeah, I'm not running Defog this week, right? Yeah, I'm not running Defog this week, and I want to have something to absorb the T-Spikes. But again, free switch in on Toxapex every time, potentially allow me to get a +2 off, or just fire off some Earthquakes against his team. Garchomp's going to need to be a little bit chipped for me to help deal with this, and obviously the Aerodactyl, like I mentioned, needs a little bit of prior chip. But Toxicroak has definitely got potential here to clean his team. Lastly here, we've got Dexter the Ambipom, running Life Orb, Ambipom with Technician, Fake Out, Ice Punch, Return, and Knockoff. Running Max Attack, Jolly Nature. Ambipom hits his team really hard, bar the Aerodactyl. So obviously if you brought Aerodactyl, this wouldn't have been quite as good of a bring. But Ambipom just clicking Return really 2-hit KOs most of his squad. Fake Out is going to allow him to get some really nice chip off on things like Darmanitan, Hoopa, if those things are running Choice Scarf variants. And just do some really big damage to his team. Ice Punch Okos the Garchomp from full, unless he's running like a ton of physical bulk, or if he's running Yachi Berry or something like that. But getting big damage off on the Garchomp is really nice for my Toxicroak anyways. And then Knockoff is there to hit specifically like the Decidueye. I felt like it was nice to catch on the switch in, even though I do have Ice Punch to hit that thing. Able to knock off its item, that's pretty nice for me. Able to knock off items from things like Toxapex, Togekiss. Just start to cripple those things over the course of the match, get rid of some of their access to recovery. I felt like would be really nice from my Ambipom here. And this also allows me to knock off Porygon 2 if he did happen to bring that. Special variant, especially defensive variant of Porygon 2 can be mildly annoying for something like my Mega Diancie and my Rotom Heat, so being able to remove that thing's Eviolite would also be really nice for me. And I felt like I didn't really need U-Turn in this game, because for the most part I'd be scouting for Choice Scarf on things like Hoopa and Darmanitan by going for Fake Out myself. So I didn't feel like I needed to run another move besides Knockoff in this instance. So that's the team for this matchup. Let's get right into it here. As you can see, my opponent did bring the Jirachi, Togekiss, Toxapex, Darmanitan, Garchomp, and Hoopa Unbound. So like I said, no Aerodactyl, really nice for me. My Diancie outspeeds the base version of his entire team, which means he's running at least one Choice Scarf for this game, potentially more. I don't know what the Choice Scarfer is, because it could be Jirachi, could be Garchomp, could be Darm, could be Hoopa, could technically be Togekiss, even though I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense this match. But he's definitely got a lot of Choice Scarf options, so it's very possible that he's running more than one. So that's definitely something I need to watch out for during the match. I definitely think he could be running a more offensive variant of Jirachi, just because he did bring the Toxapex, which is clearly my Mega Diancie, or his Mega Diancie answer. And then like Togekiss is definitely more defensive to handle things like my Crocodile and my Dragonite. But again, the other four can all be Choice Scarfers, so I don't know what he's going to want to be running on any given Mon. I feel like my best overall lead is just to go out to my Ambipom here, lead off with that thing. I can click Knockoff potentially versus the Jirachi, or I can Fake Out, pressure things, start getting some chip off on his team, try to scout out for some of his Choice Scarf Mons, because I felt like he might want to lead off with one here. And going for Fake Out on something like Hoopa, if he stays in, will give me some good intel that maybe that Hoopa's either Focus Sash or it's a Choice Scarf variant of Hoopa. So yeah, I'm going to lead off with the Ambipom here and do just that. Fake Out's pretty free versus team anyways. Obviously I don't want to be taking too much Life Orb chip, but health on Ambipom's not really a huge deal as long as it's alive. He does lead off with the Darmanitan here, and turn 1 we've already got an interesting play, because if he is Choice Scarf Darmanitan, he might stay in here and just go for Flare Blitz. I don't really have great Flare Blitz switch-ins on my team, so he might just stay in and click it. He might click U-Turn, whatever. But I really can't risk him just staying in with his Darmanitan. I believe he lives a return from full, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't want to just risk him staying in with Darmanitan and killing my Ambipom. So what I'm going to do is go right for the Fake Out here and just get a little bit of chip damage off. He makes the right play and goes out into his Toxapex to scout that out. If I had gone for 2 returns, I don't think I 2-hit KO'd it. I think I do 40 40 to 45 with a return to Spadef Toxapex, which it looks like this is a little more specially defensive. It does have some physical bulk, but it looks like it's more specially defensive based on that fake out damage. But like I mentioned, Toxicroak comes in for free on Toxapex all game. He does go for the Toxic Spike, unfortunately, as I come in, which means I'm not going to absorb it. But this is a potential opportunity for me to go for an Earthquake here. I don't want to go for SD, just because even at +2, I'm not going to KO the Garchomp anyways. So I'm just going to go for Earthquake here, as the Jirachi actually comes in, and I'm able to do some huge damage to that thing, and it looks like a very offensive variant of Jirachi. So now I'm definitely thinking this is probably Choice Scarf Jirachi. Don't see leftovers or anything like that. But I am going to switch out here. I felt like he would scout for Sucker Punch and go out into his Garchomp, and I want to catch that with my Rotom Heat. Because Rotom Heat does have the Charty Berry, I can just go for HP Ice or Will-O-Wisp or whatever and neuter the Garchomp. But unfortunately, he's just gonna go for U-turn there with his Jirachi. Again, if that's Choice Scarf Jirachi and that's like his offensive check to my Diancie, I'm really surprised he risked getting hit with the Sucker Punch there by going for U-turn. But a good play on his end. He gets his Garchomp in anyways on my Rotom Heat, just at a little bit less HP. He goes for Stone Edge here and unfortunately crits me through my Charty Berry. Didn't necessarily matter. Basically, it would have just turned a second Stone Edge into a roll as opposed to a guaranteed KO. But at the very least, I get some good damage off with my Hidden Power Ice here on the Garchomp, and that does put him in range of a Moonblast, pretty much regardless of whatever Garchomps that he's running. But he goes for Stone Edge again and knocks out my Rotom Heat. So again, crit might have mattered there, depending on whether he got the roll on the second one, but not a huge deal. I'm going to go out to Scizor here. The reason I'm not going to go out into anything else is because I don't want to take a Toxic or a Poison on my Crocodile Diancie or my Ambipom, and Sucker Punch obviously is not going to KO the Garchomp from this range on my Toxicroak. So what I want to do here is U-turn out with my Scizor. I can take whatever hit he wants to go for. If he's Choice Scarf into Stone Edge, so be it. If he has Fire Fang or whatever, I do have the Aqua Berry for that. So I'm going to go for U-turn here. That's going to do enough chip damage to put the Garchomp in range of a Sucker Punch from my Toxicroak, and obviously stop him from going for a substitute if he happens to have that anyways, because he'll be below 25% HP. So what this is basically allowing me to do is get nothing poisoned, absorb the Toxic Spike, and KO the Garchomp, while only losing a little bit of health off on my Scizor. So I'm going to go for U-turn here, as he unfortunately goes for the Fire Fang. Does break my Aqua Berry, which is fine, but he gets a burn on me, and he flinches me. Like, what? Gets the burn and the flinch on my Scizor. That really sucks. Even if I just got the burned U-turn chip off on this Garchomp, it would have been in range of Sucker Punch, I think. But unfortunately, not even going to be able to get that. I'm just going to have to go for Bullet Punch here, do a little bit of chip damage to the Garchomp. Still doesn't put him in range of the Sucker Punch, unfortunately. So now I basically just wasted off my Scizor because I got the flinch burn part. Honestly, I could have taken either. Like, if he had just flinched me, that still would have sucked. But I could have just gone for Bullet Punch and done full damage, and he would have been in range of Sucker Punch. If he had just burned me, U-turn would have done enough damage to put him in range of Sucker Punch anyways. Like, I just needed to get the Garchomp in range, and because of the burn and the flinch, I'm not able to do that, unfortunately for me. So I can't go out to my Toxicroak here to absorb this Toxic Spike, which means I'm going to have to let something get poisoned. Decide to let it be Ambipom. I'm just going to go out here and click Return. Returns, again, pretty free versus team. Does good damage to the Toxapex anyways, and I could technically, if I wanted to, stay in on the Toxapex and just keep clicking it, but if he goes for Recover, that gets pretty shady for me with the Poison plus Life Orb chip racking up. So what I'm going to do is just go right out into my Toxicroak again, expecting him to just recover with his Toxapex here, but he makes a very nice play and doubles out into his Garchomp to catch my Toxicroak. Sucks that he got the Garchomp in because now I essentially need to take damage on something. I don't need to sack something else, but I do need to take damage on something else. Again, he's out of range of a Sucker Punch from my Toxicroak, unfortunately. So what I'm going to have to do here is let Crocodile take a little bit of chip and just see what I can do with this Garchomp. I'm expecting him to go for Earthquake because he's got no reason not to. And I should be able to take two of those through the Intimidate. So I'm just going to go for Knockoff here with my Crocodile. As it turns out, he is not a Choice Scarf variant of Garchomp, which is good news for me. He was actually Roselli Berry. So it looks like he was kind of just designed to take that Moonblast and KO the Diancie in return. But with the Garchomp gone, Toxicroak is looking like he might have potential to win this game later, especially because I've already chipped the Jirachi and I know it's offensive. Potentially Choice Scarf, so I'm just going to stay in with my Crocodile here. It really doesn't do a whole lot this match, especially if that is Choice Scarf Jirachi. Especially if that is Choice Scarf Jirachi, it's not really going to do a whole lot, so I felt like removing an item off the Togekiss was better for me. Turns out he was Babiri Berry to take probably a +2 Bullet Punch and then KO me with a Fire move in return. And he does show the Dazzling Gleam as well, so he's definitely got D-Gleam plus Fire move, probably Roost, and then I don't really know what his last move would be. Might be Air Slash, don't really know. But I'm going to because I'm kind of in the back here, I'm going to take this as my opportunity to get my Diancie in, just go for a Rock Polish and see what he wants to do. If he wanted to switch out, that was fine with me, but he actually does stay in with the Togekiss to go for a Dazzling Gleam, and this is actually going to allow me to start setting up really hard with my Diancie here. So he's going to go for, once again, stay in here and go for Dazzling Gleam as I go for Calm Mind. And I'm going to go for another Calm Mind this turn at +2. I do have a chance to KO the Toxapex from full. If he was max Bidef, I'd need the absolute max roll, but based on the Ambipom damage from earlier, I know that he's not quite max Bidef, so it actually turned out this was like a 32% roll to KO at this point in the game. Obviously, I didn't know that during the game, that I only had a 32% chance to KO, but I really don't have another option at this point than to just go for it. Like, I'm pretty much in the back here. My only chance is to triple this Toxapex or hopefully kill it, to maybe let my Ambipom do some work in conjunction with the Sucker Punch on my Toxicroak. I potentially got the ability to win this game. So what I'm going to do here is go for the Earth Power. If I KO this Toxapex, I win the game. If I don't KO it, I could potentially set up with my Toxicroak and start going from there. Unfortunately, I do not KO the Toxapex here with the Earth Power. I get a high enough roll that it was just enough to be really disappointing. I do 99% to this Toxapex, but I'm not able to KO it. Like, you can talk about deserving rolls or whatever, but I didn't, like, that roll was not in my favor. So, not able to KO the Toxapex, unfortunately, so now my Diancie is not going to be able to KO that thing and not going to be able to sweep through his team. But at the very least, I got rid of the Toxapex. That's good for my Ambipom. I can potentially pressure his team with Fake Out now. I think the Jirachi is actually in range of Fake Out because it is so offensive. So Ambipom's definitely looking pretty good here. The fact that he goes out to Jirachi here tells me it's definitely Choice Scarf. What I'm going to do is go out hard into my Toxicroak here because I want to save my Diancie for his Hoopa and his Darmanitan and his Togekiss even to some extent. And I know it won't die to an Iron Head here. So what I'm going to do is just go for Sucker Punch, KO the Jirachi. Because he didn't scout for it before, I was pretty sure he wasn't going to scout for it here. But Toxicroak is still looking pretty nice versus team. I do think he probably has another Choice Scarfer between Hoopa and Darmanitan. Not really sure which of the two it would be. Unfortunately, he's going to go out into the Hoopa here. So again, we've got another play here. If he's Choice Scarf Hoopa, I lose if I don't get chip damage off on him. Sucker Punch will put him in range of Fake Out from my Ambipom. But if I don't go for Sucker Punch and he is Scarf and he knocks me out, I just lose. Or pretty much lose, essentially, with my Ambipom. I'd have to cycle Fake Out, and even then, if he just switched out once, he'd be fine. So my only hope here is go for Sucker Punch, try and get some chip damage off on this Hoopa to put it in range of one Fake Out so that he can't really switch around on me. I could potentially catch him on a double with my Diancie or something like that with my Ambipom later in the game. It's going to be very difficult for me to bring it back from here, but I feel like it starts with me landing a Sucker Punch on this Hoopa, which appears to be Choice Scarf by the fact that he brought it out on my Toxicroak here. But I go for Sucker Punch, and he turned out to be Trick Room Hoopa. So, like, you know, what are you going to do? Gunk Shot might have knocked him out from full there, or Gunk Shot and a Sucker Punch certainly would have knocked him out, but, like, I had to go for the Sucker Punch there to try and get chip damage off. Like I just said, if he was Scarf Hoopa, I would have lost if I didn't get Sucker Punch chip off there. It turned out he was Trick Room, and he's able to KO my Toxicroak. That kind of sucks. But I do still have some slight potential to win this game, if that is Choice Scarf Darmanitan. With the Trick Room turns active, if I can KO this Hoopa with my Ambipom, as I'm going to here, I'm going to go for Fake Out. Get some good damage off on the Hoopa. So if that is Choice Scarf Darmanitan, I can go out into my Diancie on the following turn. Hold on, I'm a little ahead of myself here. Let's finish up with the Hoopa first. Fake out the Hoopa, get it down to 1% once again. Again, that was another roll, but I don't think that one was in my favor. If I'm not mistaken, that might have been like a 40% roll. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. But unfortunately, the Hoopa is also going to live on 1. Not really a huge deal, other than the fact that I would have been able to find out potentially whether his Darmanitan was Choice Scarf, but no big deal. I'm just going to sack off my Ambipom here. I guess I could have saved it and sacked off my Diancie instead and gone for like crit return with my Ambipom, but if he's Choice Scarf Darmanitan, I would lose. So it's again trying to figure out what's Choice Scarf on his team and what's not. Unfortunately, the Darmanitan comes out here on my Diancie, which tells me that he is definitely not Choice Scarf Darmanitan. I think it turned out he was actually banded. So he only had the one Choice Scarfer with the Jirachi. Like, I could have won this game on the back end there, but it would have required me to win some 50-50 guesses, right? Like, it would have required me to guess right that he was Trick Room Hoopa as opposed to Choice Scarf and click Gunk Shot there. Gunk Shot potentially, like I said, could have knocked out the Hoopa from full, or at least would have put him in range of a Sucker Punch. But I chose wrong, clicked clicked Sucker Punch on the Trick Room and obviously paid the price for that. I felt like I'm not gonna take that play back. I think that was the right play to make, going for the Sucker Punch against the Hoopa there. It's just the wrong guess, unfortunately, on the back end there. And then again with the Darmanitan, I had the wrong guess. It turned out to be not Choice Scarf Darmanitan, which means I should have just sacked off my Diancie, gone out into my Ambipom and fake out, and then just try and crit return the Togekiss or something like that. I think it was still at a range where I would have needed a crit to KO it. So, it's all good. Still had a really solid season here. Definitely not trying to take anything away from Muck. He played pretty well this game in general. Do I think I could have won if I hadn't gotten like the flinch crit or the flinch burn on the Scizor? Maybe, but like it still wasn't, guaranteed anything in my favor. I just didn't quite get the roll in the Toxapex, didn't quite get the roll in the Hoopa. It was just one of those kind of games, Definitely still had a good season here. Had a lot of fun in the OLT Harmony Division. Getting promoted to Oblivion for the next season, which is definitely great. But yeah, that's it for Season 5 of the Harmony Division here in the OLT. Thank you guys very much for sticking with me this season if you did. And I hope to see you guys all in another video later.